Now, this is a short video where I'm having a small, hopefully a discussion, maybe with myself, and maybe if some people actually react to my YouTube video, that would be cool as well. So, basically in the Higgs and some other science, they say there are protons, and protons are made up from other components. And this is something which I think has been proved by some collider off in CERN Europe, where they bash atoms together and they break off into different wavelengths, that there's something actually holding them all together. Now, in my ideas are that it's something like a Fourier wave effect and with a few electric fields, but I'm no scientist here. So this here is just a discussion. This isn't anything I can prove in my work. I don't have the tools to do anything like this shown here. So let's imagine we have two protons pushed together. Well, it seems that D and B may be ejected. However, we may have a shared universe, an intersection, so these two are still both full protons. Now, this is where I'm talking about solid-state switching. So where when enough protons are pushed closely enough together, they will begin to actually produce a form of antenna-like radiation. So we have an electric field of A connected to C, and C connected to A with A and B, with B and D in the middle. So here we have a wave here and we have a wave here. Now, as this jostles, we see them switching positions. And this causes a electromagnetic wave to be ejected, whilst another one is actually in preparation to be pushed outwards. What this means is there's an idea that a positive material could exist where protons are pushed together that begin to oscillate and also produce a wave internally that goes outwards externally. Bear in mind my other videos on electromagnetic waves for my warp drive. So imagine now we have a positive material that is ejecting a wave, but the wave itself is also being interacted with by the electric fields. That means the wave ejected can be rotated. Whereas before, we had a positive material surrounded by some kind of antenna. Now, if we take a look here, this is a positive material which has 4 electric fields. It's positive, but less positive. It has less E vectors and rotations because it has less positive fields coming out of it. But as we have more positive electric fields, they interact with the electromagnetic wave, meaning it will always be rotated in a specific direction. Now, if you imagine this being a 2D plane, and we have the positive electric field here, these fields here will likely cause it to rotate in this direction, having a force vector going around this 2D plane. And when the electric field is pushing in this way, when it alternates, well, when it alternates here and pushes along this way, it's beginning to interact with these positive electric fields. But my idea is that the actual alternation, rather than having it alternate this way and then this way, we will always have a force vector pointing in this direction. Possibly, but it could be that we have a force vector pointing in 2 directions. But I foresee that when this alternates here, it's rotated here, and when it tries to go into its opposite direction here, it'll be up here. But I think it will likely swing this way, because it will be pushing against this and attracted this way. So it means as this alternates, it will always be producing the force vector in this direction and the E vector in this direction. And the more positive electric fields help make that spin or rotation happen a lot faster than it will on a positive material that has less positive electric fields. So this was me looking at a less positive material, but actually I've described it better on the previous page, so we can ignore this. So now, here's a bit of maths. Rotation speed equals the number of positive vectors times the frequency of the wave divided by the size of the wave will equal the rotation speed. Now this is just me having an estimate and playing around with the maths. I don't believe it's quite right, but you're moving on the right lines or ideas of creating a mathematic representation of the rotation of the electromagnetic wave when we are looking at a positive material with lots of positive electric fields. And I think of the positive electric fields as positive electric field entrapment. And actually, this is negative energy. So if we have a clump of metal here, and we connect it to a ring with a coil around it, as we put the voltage in here and the voltage out here, an electric field is passed around the coil. And this actually takes away the electrons and suddenly activates this inner core to be positive. So suddenly these positive electric fields, you can imagine them as jettisoning out. So that's a way of using negative energy throughout my warp drive playlist, and also representing how we can change dimensions, because we've actually moved into a positive electric field-like dimension surrounding the material, resulting in maybe some form of repulsion, attraction, but also the warping of space-time when we're looking at electromagnetic waves. So here we have the positive material, we've got an electric field coming up, that's positive. Here we're just trying to display the rotation. E is going downwards to the material, but when E goes upwards, it's going to be repelled, and it's going to be rotated in a specific direction. I think E will always typically be repelled to this direction here. However, it could actually happen here. But I suspect E will always be rotated down to the positive electric field. E will always end up here. And I think F will always end up here. So as we have these going around, we have a almost like storm going around the 2D plane. So remember, proton is made from components. We push a proton together, they share some components, maybe they won't, they begin to oscillate, and they begin to produce a wave. Now this wave here is almost like a fictional crystal or metal that actually could potentially be at our planet's core somewhere, which again contributes to ideas of gravity and also being an alternative power source. See, I think if we created some kind of crystal like this, these electromagnetic waves could be used to power some kind of device where the alternations are happening on this piece of metal. So the electrons are moving backwards and forwards. And a light bulb here would be powered by the waves created by this crystal that are passing through metal. However, when I spoke about my gravity emitter design in another video on another playlist, the opposite can be used. We can have a wave coming in, being rotated by refraction, and when the wave and a metal passing through the actual layered sheet are parallel to one another, this environmental radiation will be rotated and used as a power source. This means that the radiation we're using for telecommunication technology could be used to power a device. And this also means gravity itself could possibly be used to power devices in some future date. So I kind of think of the Earth's core as having these rotated waves which are being produced by material somewhere. And if such is true, if we dig deep enough, suddenly a metal here could be having the electrons on it oscillate, which produces electricity. Meaning someday a power cell could be created that mimics everything I've talked about in my playlists, and that planets can be used as energy, maybe without even having to go anywhere near the core. And with that is basically my discussion over. That light and gravity can also be a power source when the electromagnetic fields are being rotated in a specific direction. Which means if it's being rotated in this direction, we have E, and then we have it here, then we have it here. So we'd have something like this, which could turn a alternating electromagnetic wave into a direct current if we added some capacitors onto the metal that the alternating wave is being passed through. So that's it. The radiation in our environment and gravity may also be a power source. The gravity is being produced by several planets and by several materials, maybe, possibly as well. I think our planets are sources of energy. They're almost like an onion-like structure. So thank you for your time, and bye.